Yo, what's going on, guys? Matthew V. Haynes.
I'm Elliot.
And I'm Phineas.
And we're the Peters Bros.
Guys, we are going to be doing a spoiler discussion on Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast, guys. Really quickly, guys, explain to my audience what you guys do.
We're two brothers who do vlogs, comedy, songs, and all sorts of really fun stuff. Basically, just whatever suits our fancy at any given time. But we're really huge nerds and geeks, and we like to geek out about the stuff that we love and share it with you guys.
Awesome. And to the Peters Bros family, I do a lot of movie reviews, trailer reactions. I do vlogs occasionally, sometimes. not too often. Pretty much like the Peters Bros every now and again, but not as much as I would want to. But if you like movies and nerd stuff and superheroes and stuff, come over to Matthew V. Haynes and check it out.
Yeah, definitely, guys. If you're nerds like us, Matthew's channel is a great place to geek out about stuff.
Awesome. So we talked a little bit before on some of the things that we wanted to address. The opening scene, I wanted to discuss about Maurice and the difference between the animation and the live action movie. So what are your thoughts, guys, on that whole scene?
Yeah, I think the main difference is the fact that Maurice isn't an inventor, right? It's the fact that he's a music box maker, which really sets him apart from Belle in a way that we didn't see before, because they were both kind of oddballs before, but now, I mean, he's still crazy old Maurice, but he's not as different from the rest of the crowd. And I also feel like giving him a song to introduce his character with How Does a Moment Last Forever was kind of a very beautiful way of introducing him and kind of made us feel for him in a completely different manner.
Yeah, they definitely what I did love like what they did with this movie was they used a lot of musical numbers to give people a more in-depth backstory, which was really cool. I enjoyed that. So one of the things too that I noticed now that you mentioned the difference between the animation was Belle's role with her relationship with her father. She's more or less concerned and interested in her past rather, and wanted to know more about her mother and what happened, because that's a side that we never saw in the animated movie, her wanting to know too much about her mom in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that was completely added to this new version, which I actually really enjoyed. I felt like it gave Belle and her father something to talk about, and something that they were at odds about a little bit, that kind of added a completely different layer to their relationship.
Yes, totally agree with that. So before we get more into the backstory, because there is a scene with the Notre Dame scene as well, which is really cool. But the townhouse, now we were talking a little bit earlier about how I felt in the animated movie, her house, Belle and her father's house, being outside of the main city. It was more of a visual representation of her isolation, from the rest of from the rest of the world, essentially. So, is there anything you guys would like to add on that?
Well, I feel like kind of adding Belle into the town, like we saw in the film, kind of makes it seem more like Maurice was kind of trying to, bury her in this super small, super safe, enclosed space.
Okay.
So it's like he was trying to hide her away or squirrel her away.
Just to protect her, really.
Exactly, to keep her safe. And of course that didn't exactly go as planned, because Belle has bigger plans for her future.
I feel like we really saw how much Maurice cares about Belle more in this version.
Yeah.
What with the whole rose thing, you ask for one every year, and every year you bring it.
Yes.
It was really nice.
And I like how you bring that up, because in the animated movie, she was more or less caring for her father, where he looked like the child. But then when you really get into this movie, like a lot, you start to notice that it's really the opposite way around. Like you said, like he did everything for her. He moved for her. He tried to keep her in a certain place. And I see what you're saying with keeping her engulfed in the main city, to try to keep her, make her blend in, essentially. Try to protect her from where he came from,
Yeah,
so,
that's a great point. Like the reversal of their roles in a way.
Yes.
That kind of gave it also kind of made it a little more heartbreaking when Belle ends up leaving the Beast in order to go save Maurice, because their relationship was so much more complex than it was in the animated film.
Yes.
And how is Maurice supposed to, like, understand that when she says that she actually likes the Beast and that we have to save him? Like, didn't he just lock you away from me?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to save you this whole time. That was like, what, I got tied to a tree for no reason.
It really shows how much Maurice cares for Belle, that he's willing to change his mind and his entire outlook.
Yeah.
Just in a moment to help her.
Yes, I really liked, now that you're really mentioning that, their relationship. It was, it's really complicated, like you said, and complex, but it was beautiful at the same time to see their interaction with that. So another thing too, now we're still in that beginning scene there, is Belle inventing the washing machine and teaching the girl how to read. Anything
I literally
you
laughed out loud when that happened. I was like, yes!
yeah. The first washing machine.
Yeah, that was a really great moment. I felt like it really gave, it totally introduced us to what kind of things Belle was doing in the town that made people call her out for being weird or strange, which was kind of fun, because, that's like, it was super smart of her to wait until everyone else did their laundry and then build a little invention.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
I thought that if there's any really favorite parts of this movie, definitely had to be that scene right there, with just her inventing and her teaching the girl how to read too, because I'm pretty big on people who can be independent on their own and be able to take care of themselves and stuff like that. So I like that aspect of her being able to, hold her own and try to teach other people in the village. It kind of tackles a more deeper political issue that, can go on and on. But I've read a lot of reviews and everyone talking about that one specific scene, which is really interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of girl power in this movie, which was fantastic. I loved it.
Actually, wasn't that washing machine scene actually right after Maurice said that Belle's mother was a funny girl as well, but then everybody started copying her at some point? And then she teaches the little girl how to read.
That's a good point. It was right around that moment, yeah.
Making a little mini Belle. I mean, yeah.
Good. I didn't even think about that too. That's actually really interesting. So from that scene we go straight into Maurice leaves. I know I'm skipping about, but Maurice leaves, and he goes on his journey, and we get to that scene where he goes into the castle for the very first time. I was expecting Lumiere and Cogsworth to, run up to him as they do in the animated movie. But that scene was a little bit different. I thought that was really weird of Maurice to just go in the house and just start eating food and start making himself comfortable. Because in the animated movie, all the workers, the whole staff pretty much welcome him into the home, seat him down and offer him tea and offer him this. And this one, they essentially do the same thing, but he kind of just did everything on his own. He just went and he saw food. He started eating it, and describe your that scene. How did you feel about that little change there? Did you like it, or?
Well, I feel like what they were trying to do there was both honor the original animated film and also honor the original story, like the original Beauty and the Beast story from France. Because in the original story, Maurice is captured by the Beast when he goes to pick a flower. And in the animated film, he's captured by the Beast when he goes into the castle. So they still wanted to do the going into the castle part, but they also wanted him to pick a rose.
Mm-hmm. So I thought it was really clever the way they added that rose part in. I mean, I think she had some connection to roses, and so did the Beast.
Yeah, that was actually cool, the way they tied roses into the whole film. But I think the main reason that they did it that way, Maurice's introduction to the castle, was because they wanted the best of both worlds a little bit.
And believe it or not, I'm actually not even familiar with the original story from France. With that rose there, it was actually news to me that you told me that, because I had no clue that rose scene was from the original story opposed to the animated movie. That's actually really interesting. Now that you mentioned that, that's very clever of them for doing that. Like you said, very very clever. I didn't even know that. The Beast comedy, the comedy of the Beast, his comedic moments that he had with the little expressions that he made when he was talking to his staff. I remember that scene, the specific scene where he's getting ready and they're telling him to smile. That was one of the most funniest parts of the movie to me. I really enjoyed that. What are your thoughts on that specific scene and his whole comedic role and the little jokes they tried to add for Dan Stevens?
I think in giving the Beast some comedy to work with, they really did a great job humanizing him. Because it's so important to see that the Beast is actually a man, which I never really could get on board with it with the animated version. I don't know, it was just something about the way that they portrayed the Beast in the original that it was just, he wasn't a good enough person inside for me to be able to see past the monster. Which I guess makes Belle better than me, but whatever. But they really did a great job showing us the man beneath, and the fact that they gave him a flashback moment with his mother and like explaining that his father kind of twisted him up. That was
a new addition. I love that.
Yeah, the way that they like added a little bit more to his backstory to make us feel for him.
Yeah, and that explains why he's so sort of like childish and naive about everything. Like
yes, I liked how the Beast, you can see that everything that he was experiencing was a new experience for him. Him being nice, him feeling something else other than proudness and selfishness, and I like you said, him being naive. It was just a great way to show his human side, and a great way of him just having a new experience. So that was really cool that they were able to make that work.
Yeah, I especially enjoyed the whole montage where Belle and Beast are kind of slowly falling in love, because I always felt like that went too quick in the animated version.
I think they took the right amount of time.
Yeah, they took their time with it and really made it like slow and soft and gentle.
And understandable.
Yeah, and I think
and realistic too.
Yeah. Just the way that I mean, also the humanizing of the Beast could have helped that a lot, but
one moment that really stood out to me in that whole montage was a moment where the Beast showed him, like, himself being a little naive about, like, kind of discovering the world anew as Belle is reading poetry to him, walking out on the castle grounds.
And that scene too with him reading a book outside, the romance book. He's like, what are you reading? Nothing. I thought that was really, really, really cool. And like you said, the interaction between, the amount of the development that they included in those scenes, especially I like when Belle is choosing her books and and he's just holding it, and Lumiere and Cogsworth and the staff is just watching off to the side, and I like that. Like you said, there's more development into their relationship and a little flirting. Definitely. And which is, I love that touch. It's really, really cool. So while we're in the castle, let's talk about my favorite part. I don't know about you guys. You guys can tell me your favorite part in a minute. My favorite part was the Pierre Guest scene.
I was really fond of that. When it was happening, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. All the lights and the special effects and the way that they like seamlessly integrated Belle into those scenes, it was so cool. Yeah.
Actually, every time that there's a movie with some like different form of animation, like Moana, during the You're Welcome number, they go into the sort of drawn animation style. So it's always jarring slightly to come back to the original CG animation. Like seeing Belle. There was only one shot where I was like, oh, wait a second, right, they're all fake, and she's really different looking. But the rest was quite seamless, yeah.
Yeah, I love, specifically what I loved about it was the visual. I just loved it, I saw it in IMAX, so I guess it kind of added to the experience for me a little bit more. But I just loved that scene specifically, and I loved how they performed it. I loved Lumiere's performance in that scene specifically. That's probably one of my favorite musical numbers of the movie, along with Gaston. So I love both of those scenes, man. What was your favorite scene in your favorite moment in this movie?
I really enjoyed the final battle with Gaston and Beast. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, but I mean, it's such a great ending for the original. Just all the action and then the nice happy ending romantic stuff. I'm sad it wasn't raining though.
Oh
Ray
yes,
makes everything so
yeah.
much more epic.
True.
That
I
is
think
true.
my favorite moment in the film was actually one of the added musical numbers. I loved the Beast's solo musical number, Forevermore, as he's slowly climbing the castle and watching Belle get farther and farther away from him, and kind of lamenting the loss of her, but also knowing that she'll always be with him. That was the moment when I just started crying my eyes out.
Yeah, I could understand that. It was very touching, man. Because when I was hearing it, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, no, this is a new song, because I didn't listen to the original. I didn't listen to the soundtrack before going into the movie, so I didn't know what to expect as far as the soundtrack and everything. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, whoa, this is a new song, and it's really touching. I was like, whoa, we're seeing a really passionate, soft side of the Beast. We're seeing this side of him, like, whoa, wow. It was really touching to me too.
It was really great, and the fact that you didn't even at first notice that it was new was also really cool. That they were able to just seamlessly slip it in there, and you didn't even notice. It seemed so natural.
It was a perfect integration between original score and brand new. And I love, like I said, the heads who came together to make all those little things possible did a really, really, really good job at making everything flow so seamless, like you said. It was a fantastic scene. So, Phineas, I saw you mentioned the battle scene, but before we get to that, what were your guys' thoughts on this overall CGI of the Beast? How did you feel about that?
I mean, the whole design of, costuming and his whole face and horns were, I think, quite impressive. The movement, like you said in your spoiler review, I definitely agree that it was a little weird at some points. I am very picky about a lot of visual effects in movies. The animation of his face was pretty spectacular for most of those moments. Really, when Dan Stevens' performance came out the most, those were the best parts of the Beast's visual, I think.
So usually when we watch movies, I'm kind of the one who's just and Finn is the one wait. So he's very analytical, and I'm kind of just watching the whole thing in awe. So for the most part, I kind of just thought of the Beast as a character in the scenes, but there were some moments that I was like, oh, that doesn't look right. There was one shot in particular, I can't remember exactly when it came, but I think the Beast was walking up the stairs, or at some point he looked a little weird, and his shirt didn't have any wrinkles in it, and it was just, he looked like a video game character almost.
I feel like they might have rushed some of it. They definitely took their time with Forevermore, his musical number,
Mm-hmm.
And that final battle with Gaston, but most of the scenes, with Lumiere and Belle in it, were not as good, because they had to do so much more than just Beast.
Yeah.
I thought one scene that kind of made me put my doubts aside for as far as making the CGI look really good was Belle's Emma Watson interaction with that CGI prop, for Lumiere, and that one scene where he's giving her the tour of the castle and telling her not to go to the West Wing. I thought that integration, and I'm props to Emma Watson too, because I think she did a great job for dealing with CGI characters.
Definitely.
I think she did a great job.
Most of the movie for her was just with a bunch of little green puppets, because most of the castle too, the exterior was completely CG.
Yeah.
So
she is no stranger to big CG effects. She learned how to deal with those when she was really young, right? So I guess it's really impressive to see an actor be able to just see things that aren't actually there yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys on that, man. She for her being young and dealing with that at a young age is definitely good.
Like I said about the rain, something about particles is epic for me, at least. The end of Jurassic World, lots of sparks. The end of Force Awakens, snow. So I feel like, I don't know if they just didn't have the budget to make tons
Rain.
of wet CG props and castle, but yeah, but I really enjoyed what they did with the whole Belle stealing his arrows and snapping them.
That was cool. Her having a little confrontation with him, as well as him facing off against.
In the original,
Beast.
I feel like she kind of just stepped aside a bit for the battle scene, let Beast do his thing.
Yeah, it was nice to see her in the thick of things, though.
And now that you mentioned that, one thing I forgot to mention was Belle trying to escape the castle.
Yes.
Totally forgot to mention that.
Right.
When she ties like the remains of that crazy dress together so that she can climb out the window. Oh man, when she like ducked down and crawled out of the dress and it just stood there super stiff, that was so funny.
That was so funny,
could
yeah.
not stop laughing.
Awesome.
Well, I really enjoyed where they decided to put her in. The whole added thing with tying Maurice to a tree stump and leaving him for the wolves.
Definitely.
Oh,
That was
yes.
a great moment
Making Gaston
to give Gaston.
so evil that we just hate his guts. And don't mind when he falls into the bottom of the castle like that.
You got to see some really dark places in Gaston, as well as the fact that, his happy place was the war, LeFou was like, hey, Gaston, it's a war.
Explosions.
Exactly.
Widows,
so,
widows,
that
and he was
really
like,
completely
widows.
Yeah.
Oh,
But right. Back to the Enchantress. I actually took a long time to realize that she was the Enchantress because what was her name?
Agatha.
Agatha. Right. I really think it was a good choice to add her in at the end because she wasn't originally there when Beast turns into a man again.
Yeah.
Because the fact that the last petal fell, I was like, okay, why? What are they gonna do now? Is she just gonna say "I love you" and then? Oh, it turns out that it wasn't when the last petal fell.
Yeah.
It was whenever she said that.
Yeah, but instead having the Enchantress there to break the spell was really.
I mean, yeah, that was kind of interesting too. You mentioned that. I totally forgot about that because that kind of bothered me a little bit because I love how normally she says "I love you" before, and then everything just happens, and then you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And I saw, I mean, it's a really, I mean, because if you look at it from as from a point of view that hey, this is just a magical story. I saw, I don't know if you saw this, how Beauty and the Beast should have ended. I don't know if you saw that video from how it should have ended.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
They were addressing a specific part where they were making fun of the concept where, as soon as he turns back into a human, all of a sudden his wounds are gone, and no, his wounds weren't gone, and his wounds were still there, and he's like, yeah, I'm still bleeding. I mean, the the spell is lifted, but I'm Gaston still stabbed me. It still hurts.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, like,
Right.
if you look at it from a point of view, like, hey, it's a magical story. You don't really care.
And it helps that she's there.
Yeah.
She probably did some magic to heal him.
True, yeah. I thought actually one really cool thing that they did in this and the like live action version was the fact that they had it so that every time a petal fell off the rose, the castle shook. And a chunk fell off of the west wing, and everyone kind of
Got a little bit more stiff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
So then the fact that Gaston fell because the bridge collapsed under him was really like the rose killed him, basically.
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah.
That is actually a really good adaptation and new thing that that he added. That was really cool. Then I totally forgot to bring that up too because I loved how that one scene Cogsworth his clock. He's like, oh, it's happening again. So you know that they've experienced that before.
Yeah.
And he's like, it happened again. I mean, it was really sad too. Now that you mentioned that, to see everyone get stiffened up, and Lumiere was like, it's been an honor to serve you. And that scene, while we knew it was sort of happening, we were like, wow, this is really sad.
And some people were probably like, wait, did they change the ending? And
Yeah. And they're all
Stays the
stiff.
Beast forever and dies.
I mean, to be honest, and I hate to say it, and I saw another friend of mine, Durbin from Durbania, check him out, guys, little plug. He was talking about this in his video, that he preferred them in their animated form. And for some reason, while I was watching it, I mean, their animated form, their cursed forms, correction, I kind of I hate to say too, but I kind of preferred them in their cursed forms. It's a little weird to say that, but I kind of did.
We got really used to seeing them.
Even in the original, it's a little weird, just because, you know, she falls in love with Beast, and then he turns into some completely different dude, and they're like, oh, you're still the same person.
Yeah.
But you look completely different.
That is why it's important, though, to show the Beast's eyes when he's a beast and when he's a man.
Yeah.
Because
that was one of the first shots of him.
Yeah, it was just his eyes. So being able to, like, you know, see the Beast inside the man, kind of in like a reverse, you know, he's still the same.
I've always loved the message as that, you know, and this is the message at least I got out from it, even from watching the animated version, that no matter how ugly or beastie you are, that the fact that she was still able to be in love with the prince was to show that, hey, she loved his inside more than what he looked like. He could look like anything and she would still love him. So that was, you know, that's the message I've always taken out from Beauty and the Beast, and I've always loved that part of it, you know, just to show that, you know, despite whatever you are, it's your personality, your inside is what counts the most.
So overall, what do you think our general rating for this film is, Matt?
General rating for the film, I'm gonna go with an 8 out of 10 on that. I think you guys would be around the same boat too, the 8 out of 10, being that you know, I guess you love the musical numbers and, of course, you know, the animation and the story overall. So I'm gonna go with an 8. All right, Peters Bros family and MVH family, I hope you guys, if you stuck all the way to the end, I hope you enjoyed our little discussion on Beauty and the Beast. Man, I had a great time at the movies. One thing I forgot to mention, I was talking to the bros about this earlier, was that my entire theater was like a Broadway musical. Like, everyone was clapping after every musical number. So the movie was an overall fun movie, and it was great, man. So guys, don't forget, for my people, man, go over the Peters Bros and check them out, guys. Subscribe to them. They post awesome content during the week, so go, guys, and check them out, guys. And Peters Bros family, I'd really appreciate it if you come over and check out my stuff. It'd be really awesome, man. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you are new. Leave your, tell us what are your thoughts on Beauty and the Beast, and like I said in my last review, what's your favorite musical number from this movie? Let us know in the comment section down below. Alright, until the next video, thank you for taking your time out to watch this one. Ring that notification bell on your way out. Clockmaster, out. Arroo!
Don't forget to tell your enemies that we are awesome.